Hi Virgo, how are you? It's me, March. Welcome in. Today we're going to do a bit of a check-in to see how you're doing. We're going to use the Rose Oracle to do so. I love that this deck really called out for you today because it is so soft. It's so feminine. It's so like present with the emotion at hand because it's such a contrast to the visualizations that I was given in your meditative channel. When I tapped into your energy, the first thing that I saw was a pair of binoculars, and I felt like they were being held up to my eyes. And I could clearly feel like a metal, like an aluminum army hat, it felt like. And it seemed like I was in some sort of tower. If the tower card is appearing for you in your own polls or the readings that you're watching online, I would encourage you to try to reinterpret that card from different angles because it feels less like a crumbling of foundations and it feels more like a tower as a vantage point, because I see you in the top of this, almost like this observatory tower, this watchtower. Kind of reminds me of a bird's nest, and kind of like in military slang, a bird's nest is a large tower or structure where a shooter has a 360-degree view. It's very isolated. You're certainly pinned into one place, right? There's not a lot of room to move, and unless you're going to pull a Tarzan and start swinging from the treetops, you're really kind of stuck where you are. But you do have a tremendous vantage point in all of the perspectives that you can see. In your June monthly reading, which is available on Patreon, I'll link that in the description for you, there is this big message about you sometimes getting lost in trying to find others, in draining and overextending yourself, trying to help other people who maybe don't want your help, who want to be lost, who don't want to be found, and sometimes working against like your own best interests, almost like because you may interpret the fact that you are seeing something as a divine call to do something about what you're seeing. And sometimes it is, but sometimes it's just about hey, I see something kind of weird over here, and then you're really meant to carry on with what you're doing. And when you don't, you get stuck. And so seeing you in this reading in such a masculine, militaristic, very like almost like brutalist type of energy. It's not like there's a lot of comforts in that tower. You have these binoculars and I see you looking up and around and then ducking back underneath. I feel like I'm finding you kind of in enemy territory, so to speak. Like you have found yourself energetically, literally in a time, in a space, in a place that does not feel right. It does not feel conducive for you. It does not feel supportive. It's almost like the rose-colored glasses have come off and you're going, oh no, I am not supposed to be in this wilderness over here. I'm supposed to be on a beach drinking a pina colada. What have I done, right? And there is a little bit of that buyer's remorse that I can feel trickling in from your monthly reading of like, oh, I really was just trying to help, but like those people did not want it. This place did not deserve it. The efforts were not worth it. And now I'm kind of stuck waiting because as I see you with your little binoculars, you don't seem to necessarily be looking so much for other like combatants, but you seem to be looking out for a letter. That's where this like observatory, it kind of reminds me of Harry Potter where they keep all the owls. And I see you waiting for literally a bird, and it looks like it's kind of like a white-ish bird. I don't know if it's exactly an owl, but maybe it's a dove. There's something about like a specifically like a light colored bird that is significant to you in some way, and I see it starting to rush towards you with like a little letter. And it feels like once you open up that letter, you get to like stand up and go and like straighten yourself out. And then I see you just walking down and like out of the tower. So you seem to be waiting on some kind of information, a feeling, confirmation that it is safe for you to leave the place that you've been stuck in. Because again, I didn't know I was going to find myself here, but I'm not really in a position to get myself out yet. So I'm going to need help, or I'm going to need someone to let me know that at the very least the roads are clear so I can start my skedaddling. That feels like it's definitely on its way to you, and it feels like it comes by way of the ancestors, which was a really big theme in Sagittarius's reading yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. And at the bottom of the deck, we have the grandmothers. Remember your roots. perspective, trust the weavings. This is really key. The root as well, your root chakra, your lower energy centers, your attachments, your history. These are really significant for you right now. And if you look in this card, it almost looks like these are like two hooks. What is that? It's reminding me of that character in Moana. I forget his name for some reason. That like demigod. You're welcome. He sings that You're Welcome song. And he has like that big kind of like hook of something. It kind of reminds me of that. A couple of things here. One, it feels like over the course of the next few days, next few weeks, there's something being hooked and pulled from the crown downwards, and there's something that's being hooked from the root upwards. And this swirling of light and energy feels a little bit like a washing machine. So similar to when somebody in like the old timey tales, they get back from war, they get back from a long journey, right? Some kind of pilgrimage. Typically they take off their shoes, they take a shower, their clothes are laundered, they have a hot meal, they sit by the fire. There is like a recovery period. You might be kind of coming out of a wilderness or coming out of a difficult time and feel like you need to make up for lost time. And I really understand that sentiment, but I do feel like there's something about the grandmothers here that are saying, hey, there's something that happened to you out there that kind of, it impacted your mind, right? How you view the world, your perspective. And there's also something about what happened out there that is also like settled into your root. It's like, it's living in your soil right now. So before we kind of start putting on the Ritz, let's like clean the body, let's clear the mind, let's remove any attachments, let's like really refreshen these lower energy centers. So that way like your energy is yours once more. The songs that were coming on your shufflemancy, which is a form of music divination, are really interesting to me. And it feels like they're all in reference to the second bloom. And again, this is what the grandmothers feel like they are preparing you for after you have or will receive some kind of confirmation that like you are safe to proceed forward. The road is clear. The enemies have been redirected into another quadrant of the forest, and like you can go back to the beach and get yourself a pina colada. I don't know why that keeps coming up. I don't even like pina coladas. It's so, and I can taste them. Like I can taste the lime in the coconut and break it all up. Like that's, it's so funny. But there was something else in your June monthly reading about you. I don't know, like you not being a child of winter, even though you're always depicted in the tarot as the hermit, and that like is often depicted in a season of winter, that you're actually like a child of summer, like you're a child of spring. Like it's something really interesting like that. So I guess this like beachy pina colada sandals resort kind of energy is like coming through. But the second bloom, it says a second chance. It's never too late. New possibilities, which reminds you that everything in nature, it blooms more than once. The cherry blossoms outside this house, the robins that are setting up their nests, right? The bunnies, like the bears, the bees, the everything, the flowers, the vegetables, they all come back so long as we nourish soil. So any urgency that you have of like, I've got to get going, I've got to make up for lost time right now, I shouldn't have done that, I have to, no, you don't need to do that, because a second bloom is already promised. But now is a great time to ensure that before you start going, you're not repeating any past mistakes or misalignments that led you in the direction that like you didn't want to go. And maybe, you know, for all intents and purposes, those reroutes, those side routes, those detours that you took taught you a lot of like really valuable lessons that maybe you couldn't or wouldn't have learned anywhere else. The first song that had come on the shufflemancy for you is this song called Skal by Miracle of Sound. And Skal is a word, it's a phrase that Scandinavians, Norwegians, Vikings, they typically do. It's sort of like a salute, right? It's a cheers, it's a celebratory hospitality type of thing. So I feel like there is something from the grandmothers here about celebrating like what you've survived in the wilderness, celebrating how, like, I don't know, how you do have a heart of service, how your spirit is positioned to support others even when they don't care, and even when they don't deserve it, and even when maybe you should have sat your ass at home. Like, it doesn't matter as much as like really celebrating how much integrity and how much love and how you're really willing to like put it on the line for the greater good of things. That wants to be celebrated. There's also something about the wilderness and the forest and even these detours that feels like maybe I shouldn't have done that. How they, in their own way, serve as a form of psychic and psychological initiation. And like, you've made it through that. A lot of people enter into the desert, but not a lot of people leave it. A lot of people overextend themselves for others, but not a lot of people also then go to learn boundaries. They just keep doing it again and again and again. They don't learn how to pull back. They don't learn how to return their energy, right? And with the rose garden, in a sense, forgiveness, be gentle with yourself. Feels like that's what's really being asked of you right now, to give yourself a little padding to rest, to recoup, to allow this kind of psychic energy clearing to occur so all of your waters run clear, to remember that your intention over the last few years probably really was very innocent, very much was in good faith. And forgiveness here feels like forgiveness for yourself, because you may be in a period where you're thinking about everything that was lost or missed or not accomplished when you were busy trying to help others. And maybe that's fair, but because a second bloom is promised, because we know that life and love and the pursuit of happiness, right, is still on the table, it's still on the menu for you, it's coming out of the divine kitchen, so to speak, then we can instead redirect our efforts and our faith into being really compassionate with yourself, trying to show forgiveness through acknowledging where your heart was positioned to do that in the first place. And maybe, if nothing else, you prove to yourself that someone is willing to step in front of the bullet. Someone is willing to do the hard thing. Someone is willing to follow someone into the forest to help them. Even if no one did it for you at times in your life when you probably needed it, you've become the kind of person who would. And that in its own self is worthy of a Skal. It's worthy of a cheers, of a congratulations. There's also something really welcoming and inviting about that song as well. So I also feel like in this process, you might have been sort of disconnected from some of your lineage, your ancestors, your culture, like your motherland, the folk, right? And so I feels like that Skal song is definitely like an invitation to come back in, learn our ways. I almost want to say like part of this washing machine is also like washing a little bit of, I don't know, the world off of you, capitalism off of you, fast food, spirituality off of you, and like bringing you back into like mother's kitchen and like teaching you the old ways, teaching you some recipes, reminding you of, I don't know, something, you know, when I do my ancestral work and I commune with them, something that always comes forward really strongly was, you know, it's about how we carry ourselves. It's about the inherent dignity that we hold. It's about our boundaries, right? And there's sort of we conduct ourselves in a certain way, right? And it feels very dignified. And so that's something that like always comes forward. And when I find myself kind of veering into misalignment in any way, that's the energy that always pulls me back together and going, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to respond that way, because I come from people that have dignity. I come from people that have strength. I come from people that have control. And that's something that I take a lot of pride in, and allows me to make decisions and treat myself in a way that I can be proud of. So I think for you, there's something really similar here as well. There's also, I want to say, some family folk magic as it pertains to removing parasitic energies, parasites, attachments, energy healings. They're also showing me like a stitching up like of the womb, perhaps. Maybe you're going through a womb healing. I also see for a lot of you, you might go through like some weight loss or some weight distribution. I almost want to say like, I don't know, like your lymph nodes, like that fluid in your body is starting to like move around again. Because when I did step in your energy, my back felt like really tight, like all the way from like the neck to the tailbone, just like really just like tense. And as I move through your energy, it starts to loosen up. So I'm wondering if there's also something like, as these energy healings occur, there is like the fluid in your body starts to redistribute. You start to loosen up and you don't get so, you're not quite as tense. Because if you're huddled, kind of crunched over in a protective position, even just emotionally, energetically, that wears into the muscles, right? And you might also see like maybe some weight loss. Sometimes like not all the weight we hold is like the sweet little treats. Sometimes we hold emotional weight. Sometimes we hold safety weight. Sometimes we hold I'm hiding myself weight. And so I see a lot of that starting to like slowly come off of you as well over the course of this season, as you learn again to release resentment for yourself, to accept the past for what it was, to honor your big heart and your good intentions, and allow this healing to occur. Because then the child within comes forth. And I feel like there's something about this time that also gives you a bit of a space to go and retroactively complete some inner child healing that was perhaps started, but not like fully digested. And I like that here within like the birth canal, there is pressure, right? But it's not oppressive. That yes, like we can form something precious, we can form a gem here, but we don't have to like grind your bones to make our bread. So there's a different experience in healing and integration that's much gentler, that's really important for you to experience right now. So that way, you know, there's like the tiniest little white poof, just like, just like flying past my window. It's like a dandelion or a feather or something, that you do have the ability to heal, to integrate, to re-energize, to realign without like being in super urgency, without being in hustle mode, without having to be like in warrior mode. You don't have to do that. It says the rose garden. For a while, I think you were a gardener like in a war zone, and now you are, you are a warrior in a garden. And that means like learning how to like kind of put down those weapons to protect yourself and like allow yourself to, what's that song? Daydream. I fell asleep amongst the flowers for a couple of hours. Something, flower essences is also coming forward. I don't want to say really strongly, but really importantly for you right now. There are a lot of people that work with flowers as nature spirits, medicinally, but there's something about like flower essences, how they seep their oils off of their petals in the dew of the fresh morning, and how like you can put that on yourself. You can utilize that for like really gentle forms of healing. I think you've just been in so many combatant situations and around so many combatant people that there's an opportunity for you right now to see how the other half lives, how like the other half gets things done in a way that's like not so, again, oppressive or combatant. Because then we have the healing is happening. You're not broken. Trust the process. It's safe to soften. There's a lot of support here. If you look around, there's a lot of priestesses. There's a lot of ancestors. There's a lot of access. And there's something about your channel being changed here. Intuitively, you might have been connected to a different source. Right, when we think about the source of all things, there's a lot of entry points to tap into that. So you might have been tapped into, they're saying a busy entry point that had a lot of friction, and it had a lot of, actually, it's so funny, a Rubicon just drove by with all the doors off that didn't have necessarily boundaries and doors and limits on it. Kind of anything could fly in and fly out. Almost like, I want to sort of say like a public channel. I know that sounds so funny, but it's the difference between like going into like a public restroom at like a concert and like going to like a private restroom like in your own home. And like they're kind of using that as examples of like entry points for like pulling in. And so I feel like your channel might go down and then might come back up. So like all of a sudden for like 4 days, you're like, I'm not really picking up anything. I'm not feeling anything. That's good. That means the work is not happening in the third eye, in the crown. It means it's happening in the gut. It's happening in the body. It's happening in the nervous system. That's more important. And then I almost feel like on like the fourth night, you go to sleep and then you wake up and you're connected back to like the rose channel, so to speak, which is really interesting. So there also might be a bit of a learning code when those come back online for you to adjust to how those messages want to come through. Healing the mother line and the wastelands come up next. Healing, ancestral work, mother line, growing up. I want to rephrase that as to growing forward, and then the wasteland, sustainability, slow down, tend to your garden. I feel like in a lot of ways there's something from the grandmothers that's coming through about how the mother line often becomes a wasteland, because much like your monthly reading, women are prone to overstretch, to overgive, to follow the people into the darkness, into the wilderness, kind of like it's the Christos within us, right? It's the desire to nurture, to save, to protect. But in that, there is a depletion of one's spiritual gifts. I actually just wrote an article on my Substack yesterday about not allowing people, even your friends, to misuse or take advantage of or abuse your spiritual gifts just because you want to be helpful or you want to feel validated in your abilities, right? And so there's something about that and reestablishing a new way of channeling, a new way of living in alignment, a new way of accessing and pulling in blessings and abundance, stuff like that, that is really significant here. And I hate the fact that she is in such a desolate place and she has to come so desperately to the small pool of water, when in reality, like, there's so much of it that's available. But it really illustrates how much we can deplete our own soil, our own resources in the pursuit of trying to save or help others who, again, like, maybe do not want it. And then we have the thorn coming up next. Protection, boundaries, clear communication. A rose by any other name would smell as sweet. Roses are gorgeous. They represent strength and beauty and sensuality, but also in magic, we use them as a form of protection because they have thorns, because also they have many layers, things hidden within the petals. You have to spend time with it. You have to dig into it, right? You have to protect yourself from it. And that reminds us that the things within you, Virgo, that are so beautiful, that are so precious, yes, we want to put them on display. We want to give them freely to others, right? Like a giant public garden. But we must also make sure that there are signs and there are rules and there are thorns on those stems, because it is our responsibility to make sure that we are not putting ourselves in positions to be depleted or to be taken advantage of, or for our giftings or our big hearts to be abused, right? Even if we are hoping for the best behavior of others. We, as the stewards of our love and our bodies and our giftings and our lineages, must also be investing in balanced, sustainable ways to protect them, even if that means going a little bit slower. Yes, even if that means saying no, even if that means recognizing I am not a child of winter, even if that's how I'm depicted. I am a child of late summer. I'm meant to be on the beach drinking pina coladas and not out here slumming it in the woods. Very good. Very good. So we are going to take this over to your extended reading. I'm going to pull out, I don't know, I think I'm going to pull out one of these little new tarot decks that I have to see what else is going on in this process for you. Make sure you check out your June monthly reading, because obviously it's like very significant here. And my books are open for personals. You can find the extended on Patreon. All that'll be linked in the description below, and the rest of your Shufflemancy songs, which we didn't get to, so I'm assuming they're meant for the extended reading, but I'll put them in the description box for you nonetheless. I love you so much, Virgo. Thank you for being here, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.